Hello everyone. Welcome back to part 2 of our topic Hurt Feelings, Grief and Pain from our series You Are Loved and Precious Volume 2. In our last video we addressed a very touchy topic of hurt feelings. We understood its meaning and how we could deal with these hurtful feelings by having positive attitude and a positive reaction, which leads us to decide to take the most important and difficult decision of our life, which is to forgive. With the most apt example of a bee sting, this example is also applicable to the next touchy space in our life, namely grief. So come, let us know our grief and how to address it better. First, let us understand what is grief. Grief is the experience of coping with loss. Now, most of us think of grief as happening in a painful period following the death of a loved one. But grief can also accompany any event that disrupts or challenges our sense of normalcy or ourselves. Now, this could include the loss of connections that define us, loss of a job, a relationship, divorce, separation, injustice, are some of the things that can make us grieve. The level of grieving will differ from person to person. Feelings of drowning in quicksand, running up a never-ending mountain, constant heartache, living two lives, driving on a black ice, one step forward, two steps backward, homesickness, living under the rain cloud. All these are expressions of feelings we have when we grieve. And we go through 7 stages in the process. Let us see what these are. Now there are 5 stages of grief and 2 stages of recovery from it. These are important as they remind us of the emotional roller coaster that we go through when dealing with deep inner pain. These are normal reactions for all human beings. The first being shock. We don't know how to respond when we hear a particular news that affects our entire being. We are at a loss of words. It's like a paralyzing effect because now the brain is trying to figure out what happens next. It's like a deep black hole. The second stage is denial. We try to deny this feeling by saying, "Oh, this can't be real, this can't be happening to me." And we struggle facing and accepting this brutal truth. So we dig our head deeper and turn our faces away from it. The third stage is anger, where we start reacting negatively and we keep questioning, why me? The frustration within that situation. Why did this happen to me? I am such a good person. I am praying all the time. I haven't hurt anybody. I haven't gone out of the way to do something wrong. And yet, why did this painful event happen to me? Anger. The fourth stage is we finally reach the bargaining stage. We start making excuses or trying to take the easy way out. We delude ourselves into believing the unreal. And we accompany that with our action of binging, overspending, and get into addictions. We want to forget, so we want to keep our minds occupied. Our focus becomes warped, and we need to focus on getting healing, but instead we are bent over to cover it up. Are we like that today? At this very moment, are you facing something like this? The fifth final stage is depression, which slowly we drift away and we become withdrawn from reality, others, and hopelessness sets in. Now these above are like a spiraling staircase downwards. When one is dealing with grief, now is there a way to get a grip on your life again? Of course. Life won't be the same after that event has happened. For sure, you are going to face that vacuum. But remember, you have evolved and changed as a person with this experience. So what can you do? Positive attitude and a positive reaction is very important. The next two stages is the recovery from grief. The first being acceptance and hope. Now, in the process of healing grief, we don't let go of people. We let go of what can no longer be. And we let go of that emotional pain attached to those people and events. A task in grieving is to develop a new relationship with your loved one who is no longer here with us in the physical world. So we begin by accepting and being hopeful. Acceptance is the key to understand what has happened so that you can embrace the situation free from guilt, shame, and loss and grief, and live free, whole, and a peaceful and abundant life. The seventh stage is where you start reconstructing and rebuilding your life and working through it. You need to speak to someone about these feelings. Letting someone into the space is important and crucial, but yet I know difficult. But it will help to reconstruct a new picture. To rebuild without rebonding is important because we do not want to just fill up that empty space with something else on a rebound, but rather we want to rebuild, make something new out of this new circumstance. Of course, if a loved one has passed away, divorced, or betrayed you, you won't get another chance to set it right or bring them back. That's where forgiveness again plays an important role, and reliving the good times and thanking God for the time that you had with this person would help, even if it may seem a short time. Two things God has given us that could help us tremendously. One is tears, are the most wonderful gift God has given us to heal us and to let us steam. And another wonderful gift is time. Give yourself ample time over each stage, especially stages 6 and 7. But do not take too long, because then you would be giving a foothold to the devil to wallow in your grief, to never leave it. Now remember, for some of us, the above might happen in a jiffy, in a few days, in weeks or months. But for some of us, it does take years. The question is, by it taking number of years, it will start defining your makeup, and you will slowly start living a false identity. Do not rush yourself to overcome, but allow time and God's hand to guide you. Let's look at Jesus. How did he cope with grief? Did Jesus grieve? Yes, there are two instances in the Bible where Jesus grieved. One was the death of Lazarus. Now, who was Lazarus? In John 11:33-35, Jesus shared the grief with Mary and Martha, and he wept when he heard and saw his friend was dead. Jesus had many relationships with people, his parents and relatives, his disciples, the crowds, but Jesus also had 3 friends that are mentioned in the Bible, and one of them had died suddenly. Of course, Jesus felt that loss. But Jesus also had the power to bring his friend back. And we cannot do that. But what we can do in this grieving time is to resurrect our own life with his word by rebuilding it and reconstructing it. Jesus' attitude, positive attitude of compassion and love for his friend, and his positive reaction where he uses his authority and power to bring him back by positive affirmation and calling out his name, helped Lazarus come back to life. The second instance where Jesus grieved was in Matthew 26:38 at Gethsemane. My soul is very sorrowful even to death. Here Jesus' attitude of trust and surrender and reaction of saying, not my will, but thy will be done, was important. Because it is through this example of Jesus that we can also have this positive attitude of trusting and surrendering to God our pain, our grief, and our reaction by saying, Lord, I know you have more wisdom than me, so not my will, Lord, but thine be done. Now, looking at Jesus, we too can apply this to the moments of grief that we face, knowing that our Creator has not lost control of our life. Even though it may seem so, Jesus teaches us to trust and surrender this heavy load that we are carrying and help us make peace with our loss. And with that, we conclude our topic on grief. Although there's a lot more to say, this was just our little takeaway to help us cope with the daily grief of our life. We look forward to part 3 on the topic pain in our next video. We would appreciate your comments and feedback to this video on this topic. Thank you.